Hey there, it's Kat, and let's talk about how to celebrate the autumn equinox. There are so many ways to bring ritual into your life on a daily basis, and then it's lovely to do something special on these major seasonal transition holidays. Um, when you consider what the energy is from transitioning from summer to autumn, look to nature, see what everybody's doing around you, meaning like the squirrels are gathering nuts, and that's what farmers are doing in the fields, that there's still some growth happening, but that's that energy of harvest and celebrating what's come and preparing for what's ahead. So that's what I want this ritual to be around. I'm not going to over dictate the details of it. I'll give you the basic components so that way you can decide visually how you want it to work and feel for you. But it's a big part of ritual is actually just acknowledging that it's a ritual and doing something that feels sacred. So whether you cast a circle or just have a grounding meditation for a moment, light a candle to signify I'm heading into ritual, turn off all of your devices, things like that, where you just set a space and an intention. It doesn't have to take a super long amount of time, but it does take intention and tuning into spirit and inviting spirit into that moment. I love doing magic on the fly. I don't do a lot of high magic personally, where it's very choreographed and ritualized, which is beautiful, beautiful practice. It's just not in my nature. It's something that I have to cultivate a practice around. So I'm going to give you some things that you can do that are more of that practical sense, and you can elevate it as much as you want. So you definitely, I would love for you to honor what's been accomplished. And you can take that in the time frame of just over the summer, the time frame of 2020, which tends to be my preference. You can go further back than that, but generally when I'm working with seasonal energetics, I think in terms of a year, but every once in a while you are in like a larger season of life, and you might just feel that need to call in some energy from the past. So then go ahead and do that and just create. You can do something simple, like even create sort of like a gratitude and celebration jar where you're just writing on slips of paper and putting it in there. The good things that have happened, the things that you can be proud of yourself, how when you showed up, how you wish you had shown up, and just acknowledge all of that sort of stuff. It doesn't have to be, you know, like worldly accomplishments, like, oh, I won this award or anything like that. Like, definitely go into the emotional and celebrate any wins that you can think of that help you realize, yes, this is when I lived in alignment with my values. These are the things I want to acknowledge. You don't have to try to do more. Just see what comes, and put them there. So that's one thing, is what's been accomplished, what you've done, on many levels. And then the other aspect of autumn is gathering seeds for the future. That's what we see a lot of animals and farmers doing, is preparing. And so take a moment to write down what seeds you are gathering for the future for yourself, this can be hopes, dreams, intentions, anything that you're wanting to build, and acknowledge that you might not be building that right now, but that kind of create this little other aspect of dream seeds. And you can just have two little jars that have these slips of paper in them, whatever feels right to you. You could even make two different jar candles, and maybe you're writing things down or cutting them out and gluing it all on the outside of the candles. Like, you can get as creative as you want, little art pieces, whatever feels right to you. But to have these two different containers of um, kind of what's been accomplished, what's been grown, what you've harvested from those types of things, and what seeds are carrying on to the future. So that way it's just acknowledging that transition from summer to fall. And with those two containers, you can always just stop there. I'm going to give you some other options, that might be enough of a ritual for you. But I would love it, and I would invite you to build an altar. Um, Whether or not you've done an altar before, consider what you would want to honor. I mean, that's really what altar building is about. You can build an altar just around these two jars that you've done. You can build an altar that is dedicated just to autumn, things that you love about autumn. Maybe it has sheaves of wheat on it, or it has a pomegranate. You could build an altar that's honoring that relationship dynamic between Persephone and Demeter, and how this can be an emotionally wrenching time for families, and um, that, and just that kind of energetic. But when you build an altar, you're sort of honoring all of that. The love and the hardship aspects kind of gets folded in there. It's really beautiful. And one thing I love to do this time of year is build an ancestral altar. And, you know, at first your mind might go, well, what do I put on that? And you can literally include anything you want in an altar. I mean, it can be photos, it can be favorite things, it could just be beautiful flowers and candles, things like that. But when you're honoring your ancestral lineage, just see what comes. You don't have to rack your brain. You can continue to add things if something else comes to you, but maybe it's just a beautiful cloth and has some photos on it, something like that. But especially with ancestral altars, I love to include a mirror, put a mirror on there, showing that when you tend the altar and are participating with it, you can see yourself in it because you are part of that lineage. All of the energy has culminated in you at this moment, and for you to be in the altar as well, which is just a really beautiful thing because you're the one who is here now. And in a sense, that is that same mirroring of what we were talking about, honoring what's come before, what's been harvested, what are the seeds for the future. That is you, you're in the now, and what other things are you planting forward. And if you have children, they can obviously also be included in this altar as part of the ancestral lineage. It doesn't just have to be about the past. And it can be about specific people, or it can be about heritage, whatever feels right to you. And let me give you one other altar idea, is that on the day of the autumn equinox, that's also the time when the sun moves into the sign of Libra, and Libra is associated with Venus. So you could always do something like build an altar to beauty and love, like these things that Venus is sort of known for. So you can go with an ephemeral type of altar, but it is nice to have a theme that you know it's about. I feel like I live around little altars. I've got little things everywhere. But when I actually give myself kind of an assignment, I go, oh, I get to look at my things in a different way of what resonates with that, and just create something that feels beautiful or in alignment with that theme. And so you can do that, and it can exist anywhere. Sometimes just a windowsill. I have this bay window that I actually keep a lot of plants in, and I keep my plants there, but I'll build the altar pieces around them, and that is really beautiful. It can be on bathroom counter, in your office, little corner of your desk, like whatever it is, just have a little intentional space for this. And the last thing that I wanted to mention is, if whatever your altar ends up being, whatever your ritual ends up being. So if you're just doing the harvesting and the seeds for the future, if those are also included with your altar, and then whatever the theme of your altar is I want you to play with making offerings. Offerings are such a beautiful practice. It's giving a gift to something outside of yourself. It's kind of offering things up to the universe, the unknown. It's a bit of surrender, but in this beautiful, take this, I see you, I know you're there, this is how I'm feeding you. And you can do that with your containers, like I'm feeding feed your dreams of the future. You can also make offerings to what you've harvested. Like, thank you so much for these harvests. It's sort of like the idea of offerings to the gods that have been done through many religious practices and pagan practices for thousands of years. And for you to feel into the sense of offering. So you can make offerings on your altar, and You can decide on your own what feels right for making these offerings. If you're purchasing something and giving it as a gift, it might just be a one-time thing. I have some altars that I feed weekly. So I give a little bit of food and drink, and I literally offer it to the deity that I am working with. Like, this is for you. May this become what most serves you. And thank you so much for your presence in my life, what you bring to me. So I'll do little things like that. Another form of an offering can be lighting a candle. I love having interactive altars. So, like I said, even if you do your seeds things as two candles, so it could be lighting both of those candles, or if you've made some other type of altar, have a little tea light. You can burn the candle all in one sitting, or you can light it and just to activate the altar and call in the energy and just connect with it, even if it's just a few seconds. Like I said, you can do this stuff incorporate it into your regular daily life just to bring that sense of spirit to it. So you can light it, take a moment with the altar, maybe ring a little, a little bell type of thing. And if you have a mirror, make eye contact with yourself in the mirror, say thank you, and you can even blow out the candle. That might just be enough. It's also great to use incense in that type of way. You could light incense at the altar and do that every day. Or if you just want to make the offerings on the autumn equinox, you can do that, of just honoring the transition of the seasons and what newness is coming. And so just that idea of making an offering. I know this is fairly vague. I'm open to any questions. Please feel free to drop them down below or send me a message. But you can even send a little offering up to the nature spirits if you're more into like fairies and that aspect of our world, and more general ideas of just burn a little piece of incense for them, or something that you think that they may enjoy. But it's just making that intention of like, I am giving this to you. Thank you so much for all that you've given to me. It's that beautiful honoring. You can even have a little vase that you put a flower in, and maybe you're changing the flower every week or every few days. So just to give you a few ideas of offerings. That's a beautiful thing to tie in. It gives you a moment to tune into, like, who or what are you honoring? And to kind of take yourself out of the equation that you get to do the honoring, but there's something else inside of you that you are offering up. So the last thing that I wanted to mention, to give you just one last idea, is I know that many people right now have dreams, and it's 2020, maybe feeling stalled out with dreams or not knowing how to move certain aspects of your life forward. And that is another beautiful thing to build an altar to. An altar can be another way to have a sense of surrender, and you can honor, I know I have a beautiful life, I feel so fortunate, like whatever things that you want to honor. So it's that gratitude and honoring, acknowledging what you've harvested and what you have. And then also building this altar too, and I'm wanting more things. And that can be a beautiful thing to make an offering too, of just saying, what can I feed? What can I fertilize in this dream? And call in the support of someone else to help make this happen, to bring it to fruition. And it kind of helps to share the load and to acknowledge that this may not be the time, but it's a way to keep it alive and to keep it sparked for a while. And so based on those ideas, you can kind of decide how long and how often you want to be doing the offerings. Is it a weekly practice that you're going to continue until the winter solstice, when it's, the next change of natural seasons? Or are you going to just do it one time? Is it just going to be for maybe a few weeks, and it might, this early autumn altar might transition to something that is more based around Samhain and Halloween, and then ancestral energy, then heading into those seasons of um, different types of holidays and things that come up. So, altar can be a living, breathing thing that can continue to evolve. So I just wanted to acknowledge that too, that um, you can play it by ear. You don't have to pre-decide, but it can be nice for you to know. If you play it by ear, just at a certain point, if you stop kind of noticing your altar and you stop connecting with it or adding little things or tending it, lighting the candle and feeding it, that can also be a sign of like, okay, that energy has been brought to a close. And then I would just strike the altar and, maybe build another one or let it sit dormant for a little while, whatever's called to you in your practice. But that is what I wanted you to do for the autumn equinox. So acknowledge the harvest, acknowledge the seeds for the future, build an altar if you are so called, and then make an offering, and make at least one offering. So whether that offering is to, what's been accomplished or acknowledging the future, or whether it's an offering that's part of your altar, or it's just a general offering to a specific deity or something like that. Just be clear on what your offering is. And that will help to acknowledge this transition time within you. I hope these practices help you deepen and connect with the seasons and kind of do a little bit of that inner work of like, right, what is up for me right now? What feels beautiful to honor and acknowledge in this point in time, and with what's going on in your life right now. And just have that moment of tuning in, just kind of make these things happen, whatever way feels easy for you, and acknowledge this threshold that you're walking over heading into this new season, even though it may overlap a bit with summer. We need to acknowledge these times and then go, we don't know how long the initiation will be into autumn. So I hope that these practices have helped you. I have so enjoyed working with you. And if you have any questions further, just let me know, and feel free to share with me what you end up doing. I'd love to hear if you are up for it. Thank you so much, and happy autumn.